And andrographis, does anybody here know about andrographis? This is an herb that, yeah, you should, I mean, obviously. This is andrographis here. It's a Malaysian Indian herb, roadside weed, and very, very bitter. And combined with eleutherobe, this one here, this is a proprietary preparation of extract of andrographis and eleuthero, not available in this country, so I'm not promoting or marketing to people. It's Swedish Herbal Institute. Superior to placebo in these 7 trials here on almost 900 people for symptoms of uncomplicated upper respiratory tract inflammation. Now, or infection, excuse me. Now, Brahmi. Do you all know about Bacopa? This is a hot herb, so to speak. It's getting more traction. Here's a trial that just came out, a systematic review and meta-analysis, finding 64 studies, only 6 met the inclusion criteria, 12-week trials. Here's the 3 brands that they reviewed, so I'm being fair to everybody here. 3 brands, including our friend Kerry Bones, Bacopa. And regardless of the fact that the 3 different preparations were made from different parts of the Bacopa plant, and were different types of preparation, they all seem to have similar outcomes with respect to dealing with memory impairment. So this is not definitive, it's certainly suggestive, but it was just published in the Journal of Alternative and Complementary Medicine just a few months ago. Cohosh, we all know about this, there's no surprise here what Black Cohosh is about. They did a systematic review in alternative therapies a couple of years ago, and showing significant benefit of Black Cohosh over placebo, reducing vasomotor symptoms, which we know as hot flashes, etc. And then with other botanicals, Black Cohosh combination products, showing a 41% improvement based on this review. And here's one on butterbur root. And again, this is, and interestingly, this is the Petadolix product. And moderate evidence for effectiveness in butterbur in preventing migraines. And just a few months ago, this is news, we just published this in Herbal eGram, our monthly e-newsletter. This didn't get out very far, unfortunately. The American Academy of Neurology and the American Headache Society, they had a report, and they included Petadolix, saying that it is effective in preventing the frequency of migraines. So you have 2 medical groups recognizing this particular herbal extract. Will we find a cure for PMS? A compelling question that the cartoonists want to know. Do we want to know? We don't have to want to know. We already know there's plenty of remedies for PMS, especially all the that are into OBGYN. We know this. Vitex, here's one with 4 trials on a systematic review, and obviously the Vitex was superior, including one directly comparing it to Prozac in one trial. So again, this data is not getting out to the health professions. This data is certainly not getting out to many of the consumers. And cinnamon. Now, by the way, I have a few new ones. I see people flipping through their things. So yes, I had to send in the slides, as is usually the requirement, I think 2 years in advance, or something. And I've added a few new ones since then, so forgive me. That a new systematic review was just published about a month or 2 ago, and it hasn't been published on PubMed yet. There's a citation without even an abstract, but there's another more revised version of the cinnamon review. So basically there's another meta-analysis coming out, I think, with a positive result for cinnamon and glycemic control. A lot of action going on with cacao or cocoa or chocolate. And we at ABC, we say cocoa and chocolate because a lot of the research is actually on cocoa, not chocolate itself. And you all know the difference in the chocolate's got all the butter fat in it and all that kind of stuff. Here's a systematic review showing that cocoa and chocolate products can actually reduce systolic blood pressure. And this is on this is a meta-analysis on 10 trials, only 300 people, so they're small trials, average 30 person per trial, or 29.7 if you want. So that just confirmed that their conclusion was that it confirms the blood pressure lowering activity of flavanol-rich cocoa. Now, there is a patent on this application of cocoa for reduction of blood pressure. Anybody want to guess who owns the patent? Mars? Somebody say Mars? Whoever said Mars got it. M&M, Mars, Three Musketeers, Snickers, whatever else they sell, they own the patent. These guys are actually the leading researchers, one of the 2 or 3 top leading researchers in the world on cocoa and chocolate products for their cardiovascular benefits. Mars really has a lot of the patents in this area, a lot of the clinical studies. Hershey, by contrast, is way behind, no disrespect to Hershey Kisses or whatever. Grew up on the stuff, we all did. And here's a new one. This one came out March of 2012, so this is new stuff. I didn't have this one in when I sent this in, so this is not in your handout. But here's a review of benefits and cardiovascular benefits across the board on, look at this, 1,637 potential studies they identified on 42 trials on 1,300 people met the inclusion criteria, because to do a systematic review or meta-analysis, you have to basically say, okay, they have to be trials of so many weeks or so many months or a certain kind of endpoints, or we have to have some kind of homogeneity in the actual material being used in the trial, or there's all these different kinds of inclusion/exclusion criteria that really can help shape the outcome of the results of the systematic review and meta-analysis, one way or the other. And Cranberry, there's no surprise on Cranberry, and this is one that really has leaked out, so to speak, over the to the public. People know that Cranberry helps prevent urinary tract infections, and this is the 2008 review in the Cochrane database on 10 studies. A new one just came out, so this one I don't believe is in your handout either. So if you don't mind, I put that in here, 2012, Archives of Internal Medicine. 13 RCTs now. So now we have 3 more RCTs than what you had in the previous one in 2008 on Cranberry. And they can go so far as actually talking about treatment of symptoms, not just prevention of UTI. They've gone so far, and they've actually given the actual 0.4 to 4 gram, a huge range of cranberry powder or extract in a capsule, and or 64 to 194 grams a day of the juice. And I think, remember that when I first did my cranberry monograph in the ABC Clinical Guide to Herbs, and I was writing that 10 years ago, I think Michael Murray and Joe Pizzorno had it was 8 ounces of cranberry a day was the dose that was recognized in the clinical trials for prevention. And I think the naturopathic gurus said 32 ounces a day, 4 times as much for treatment, but that was based on, I believe, on their clinical experience, not so much on published trial data. Now we have published trial data showing that's coming out of the archive, being published in the Archives of Internal Medicine, showing actually what level of capsule, tablet, and or juice of cranberry can be used to treat symptoms, not just to help prevent UTI. Now, echinacea is a very difficult one because there are so many types. There's 3 types of echinacea species in the marketplace. You have root and above ground aerial part plants. You have dried powder. You have extracts. You have fresh pressed juice from the fresh plant. You have combinations of all the above, and so the combination of chemistry of the different types of preparations makes it very difficult to meta-analyze all of the echinacea literature. And it's a fool's errand almost. I know several fools who are friends who've tried. And they've come up and say, this is very difficult because we have positive trials here and negative trials here, and it's hard to find some definitive positive data anywhere. But Roland Shoup and his group at Bioforce and Andy Suter actually reviewed all the clinical trials they could find, and the 3 trials that they could find on their own Bioforce. Again, I'm just acknowledging the brand here. I'm not promoting them. I'm just saying this is what the research is on. They find that, and when you pool the data on the 3 trials on Bioforce, it all goes to the positive when you pool the data. Now, so this is okay. Now, you know where I'm going on this one, right? Garlic. Previously believed to have the best benefit from a cardiovascular point of view of lowering cholesterol. The last 4 or 5 studies that were actually well controlled did not show significant reduction of LDL cholesterol, but does show mild reduction of blood pressure. So, and there's several studies that have not been meta-analyzed. There's only 2 of them, I believe, maybe 3 long-term studies showing actually reduction of arterial plaque buildup, and in some cases reversal of arterial plaque buildup over 5-year studies using European and also a Japanese garlic preparation. So definitely garlic still has its place in the pantheon and the medicine chest on the table, in the kitchen table for herbs and supplements. It's just not the LDL cholesterol issue. It's really more about reversal of plaque, and in this case, as meta-analyzed, reversal of reduction of blood pressure. Ginkgo was in the news the last 2 weeks because another study, a long-range study, showed that ginkgo did not prevent Alzheimer's disease in various healthy patients, although there was a subset analysis on secondary endpoints that showed a positive trend. There just weren't enough people in the group to be able to meet a statistical significance. Now, that's okay with me in some ways, although a lot of we're disappointed. We would all like to see ginkgo actually show some benefit in preventing Alzheimer's, but I don't know anybody who's a responsible company who's out there marketing ginkgo as an Alzheimer preventive agent. Ginkgo is being marketed for other reasons, including but not limited to helping to reduce some of the symptoms associated with mild to moderate age-related dementia, early stage Alzheimer's and stuff. And of course, you can't market your product in the United States with those kinds of indications or claims. Those are considered drug claims. So here, look at this one. You got 6 studies on 1,800 people, very good size studies showing mild dementia. And here's another one. This is all based on the German Schwabe extract. They're the leaders in the field. You can't talk about ginkgo research without mentioning Schwabe. They are the guys who started the conversation over 30 years ago. They are the guys with over 160 clinical trials. They're the 900-pound gorilla on ginkgo. Especially when you have a situation with ginkgo and quality control problems with adulteration, which I'll be talking about this afternoon later. At any rate, we're showing here ginkgo actually, and this is 754 papers were identified and 17 reported on these 9 studies. So you see how they do? They kind of look at the stuff and then they boil it down to find the best research and then pool the data. Statistically superior to placebo in these Alzheimer's patients. And tinnitus or tinnitus, 8 RCTs on standardized ginkgo extract, superior over placebo. There's been some positive, some negative studies on tinnitus. So, but when you pool the data, you get a positive result according to this data.